Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride!
Off and running, hour number 3. After further review, presented by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Musso in for Moscona. Braxton Rizzuto, Cassie Spazzali along for the ride, and we are glad to have you along for the ride as well as we put a button here on a Tuesday show. 2 hours in the books, one more to go. Got a lot to get to here as well. College football playoff title sleepers. We'll get to that a little bit later on. Not odds to make the college football, not sleepers to make the college football, but sleepers to win the college football playoff. There's some names on that list that might surprise you a little bit, so we'll kick that around here momentarily. But we've come all the way through this show, all the way down to the 5 o'clock hour, and we have not talked about the New Orleans Saints yet, so let's change that. Are the New Orleans Saints poised to add one more free agent? That's the question. Here's the background and then the answer. So Bleacher Report, as they're wont to do, goes through and does all their pieces, what best free agents available, landing spots, things of that nature. Mo Moton, which is an awesome name. He was the guy at Bleacher Report who did this and named the Saints as a landing spot for a free agent wide receiver. And it really shouldn't surprise you who this is. We talked about this guy plenty last year because he was a free agent a year ago. It's Keenan Allen. Obviously, the tie to Kellen Moore is there. They were together in Los Angeles with the Chargers when Kellen Moore was the offensive coordinator. In fact, Keenan Allen enjoyed his best season of his career, the best season of his career, when Kellen Moore was his offensive coordinator. It was in 2023. He had 108 passes, career high, 1,200 yards, career high, 7 touchdowns, career high, and it would have made an awful lot of sense to reunite those guys because of the tie, familiarity with the offense, the success, all of those things. All the reasons we talked about this at length a year ago in the offseason. Now you fast forward to the 2026 offseason, going into Kellen Moore's second year, and you look at Keenan Allen, who, by the way, a year ago chose the Chargers in free agency, remained there, played all 17 games, so was durable, but only played in 55% of the offensive snaps. Now, in doing so, he was productive in a lower snap count. Like we said, played in all 17 games. You look at his receiving numbers, 81 catches, 777 yards. Productive given his snap count. But if I'm sitting here and I'm examining the question, should the New Orleans Saints pursue Keenan Allen in free agency? The answer is unequivocally, absolutely not. No, that ship has sailed for a lot of reasons. Number one, he's 34 years old. All right, this would be year 14. He'd be coming in on an incentive-laden deal to be seldom used. I like the veteran aspect of it, the familiarity in Kellen Moore's system, but incentive-laden deal for a guy who's going to be seldom used, who's 34 years old. First and foremost, that says, no thank you. The bigger reason is, what position did the Saints invest the heaviest in this offseason? Hello? Knock, knock, hello. That was wide receiver. They're good. They're good there. They're not going to carry more than 6 more often. You go figure. They're not going to carry more than 6. Chris Olave is going to make the team. You know Jordan Tyson's making the team. He was a first-round pick. You invested a first-round pick in a wide receiver. One, with size, like a guy like Keenan Allen. That was one of the things we loved about the potential for it a year ago. He added size. He was a different receiver for you last offseason than what you had. Not this year. You had Jordan Tyson. You end up picking up Devon Vele along the route. Now, injuries there, fine, but that's a guy who you look at and go, could potentially maybe be the number 3. So you're going to get more out of him than you probably would out of Keenan Allen in the first place. Jalen Polk, they trade for Jalen Polk. He sits out all of last year, works in the system. Now he's ready to go. They're super excited about him. You have to figure he's going to be on this roster. You spend a 4th-round pick. So you spend a first-round pick on Jordan Tyson, spend a 4th-round pick on Bryce Lance. He's obviously going to have a good chance to make this team. Barry and Brown, they look at this guy as a receiver and special teams. That's 6 potentially for you right there. That doesn't even count a guy like Mason Tipton or Bub Means, who obviously they've had injuries and things of that nature. But then you look at a guy like Kevin Austin, who's been a practice squad mainstay and contributed for the New Orleans Saints when they were just a mash unit. Trey Palmer, Ronnie Bell. They signed Brock Rexsteiner to a UDFA. Holler if you hear me. There ain't no room for Keenan Allen. They're good there. They invested heavily in wide receiver this offseason, knowing that that was a spot they had to get better at and get more diverse at. And you've done that. You're going to extend Chris Olave. How much that extension will be, we'll see when they finally get that deal done. I mean, you have a former first-round pick in Jalen Polk, who's now healthy. You invested another draft pick in Bryce. Like, you're good. You've got the size of Tyson and Vele. And then, oh, by the way, if you forgot, Juwan Johnson's still on this team. Is a heck of a pass catcher. Like, Juwan Johnson a year ago was your second leading receiver, 77 receptions, 889 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He is basically a wide receiver at tight end. And then you even go a further step and you invest a draft pick, a second-round draft pick, in Oscar Delp, who, while maybe his hands weren't what he's known for, they seem to like that aspect of his game too. The Saints have enough pass catchers. Absolutely not. Absolutely not is the answer to, should the Saints consider adding 34-year-old Keenan Allen on an incentive-laden deal? No thanks. You're good on your roster. You're good on your practice squad. So for me, hard no. I'm actually very excited about the Saints' wide receiver room. They set out and they built around Tyler Shuck. Oh, by the way, Travis Etienne can catch the ball in the backfield. We know what Alvin Kamara can do out of the backfield. They have enough pass catchers. Passing game isn't going to be the worry. The worry is going to be, can the Saints run the football? Because they've been absolute doo-doo at that for the last handful of years. So can you improve there? You've got enough pass catchers. Absolutely not is the answer to should the Saints not even pursue. Should the Saints even consider that? No, should not be a consideration. Be excited about this group because you got a really good one. They've invested. They've adjusted. They seem pretty set to go there. Maybe Keenan Allen ends up back in Los Angeles. We'll see. But I don't think it will be with New Orleans, nor do I think that it should be. All right, we're going to grab a break. Come back on the other side. It's after further review. Of course, Tuesday's AFR is presented by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Musso in for Moscona. We'll grab our break, come back. College football playoff title sleepers. LSU? Ole Miss? Who else maybe made the list? We'll talk about that next on AFR.
After further review.
Buying or selling, commercial or residential, think real estate, think Darren James. You want an unbelievable customer service experience, you want Darren James. It's part of his core values for Darren and his team. Darren tells me all the time, as long as I've known Darren, he said, my goal one day is to put myself out of business. I want to create such a turnkey, seamless, easy process for people to be able to buy and sell homes that they don't even need me anymore. Well, as Darren continues on that path in the meantime, he's going to help you sell your home. So if you need to sell your home, you want a realtor that quite literally sells more homes than anyone, you want Darren James. Last year, Wall Street Journal is listed the top 1% of realtors in America, Darren James. So need to sell your home fast for the most amount of money, you need Darren James. 335-7666, 335-7666, or agent225.com.
Think real estate, think Darren James.
Powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Brought to you by Evermore. Drink Evermore, EVAMOR, evermore.com, evermore.com. For elite athletes, for someone who just wants a healthier lifestyle. Maybe you're a parent, you want a healthier option for your children. Evermore is a great option. I would highly encourage you, bottom line, if you're drinking tap water, don't. Bare minimum, filter your tap water. But the best option is Evermore. This is natural artesian water. It's underground aquifers on the north shore of Lake Pontchartrain, right there in Covington. They dug a well into that aquifer. And, I mean, it's literally thousands of years in the making. That's why they call it Mother Nature's masterpiece. That's what they're pulling out of the ground. The only filtration is take, like, the sediment from the ground out of the water, and it goes right into the bottle. So it never touches air until you uncap it, take that first delicious sip. Learn more where you can buy it, great retailers or online, EVAMOR, evermore.com.
All right, we're in the heart of the college football offseason, especially talking season. In fact, we're lining up an interview with our guy Phil Steele for next week on the show to get Phil's take on all the talking season and whatnot. So that's when you know when we're getting our offseason primer from Phil Steele. That's when you know we are in the heart of talking season. In fact, Wednesday is July 1st. That's going to kick off 3 weeks to SEC Football Media Day. So, it is fast approaching. Well, one of the big things when it comes to talking season is who's going to win the national championship. I think we all know the favorites, right? Georgia's always going to be right there. Indiana, obviously, nowadays is going to be right there. Ohio State, Texas, Notre Dame, all the teams that you know right now. So the question is sleepers. Well, Blake Topmeyer over at USA Today, friend of the show, looked at the betting odds and found the top 5 sleepers. Now, for his criteria to be considered a sleeper or considered have long odds, like what considers long odds for this? Odds longer than 12-1. So, won't really bury the lead here. LSU is listed as a sleeper to win the national title at 15-1 odds. I think many of us here look at LSU and say, well, no, LSU's a contender. If they're not in the playoff, it's a giant disappointment. I'd agree with you. But remember, these are odds to win the national championship, not make the college football playoffs. So at 15-1, LSU fits sleeper. I think another reason they fit sleeper is, well, Lane Kiffin has really done his best to downplay expectations here in year one. He knows what he's got coming. The schedule we talked about earlier in the show, where a lot of people seem to think it's easy, I think it's just littered with pitfalls and hurdles. You have to navigate that with a quarterback who missed the majority of spring, all together with how many new players did LSU just add out of the portal in their high school class? Turned over more than half your roster. So I think sleeper absolutely fits LSU in this case. So we start there. LSU, sleeper to win the national championship. One that I think is interesting, also at 15-1, was Texas A&M. I think that's interesting because A&M obviously was in the college football playoff a year ago. They hosted their first round game. They lost to Miami, and Marcel Reed really struggled. But he's going into his fourth year. They do have to replace some pieces up front. But when you have a dynamic playmaker like Reed and the weapons that they were able to put around him, I mean, that's after losing a guy like Casey Concepcion, right, to the draft. There's still plenty. The thing that really intrigues me about A&M is Colin Klein is no longer the offensive coordinator there. And I think that tends to get downplayed more than it should. And I'm not just talking about Texas A&M in this case. I mean in general. When you lose a play caller, and especially one who is as successful as Klein, there is an inherent drop-off there. That's where I look at it and I go, okay, yeah, the sleeper mold fits for them. But you saw the strides they made defensively a year ago when Mike Elko took that back over. So, yeah, you're losing a defensive coordinator as well, but Mike Elko is really the guy pulling the strings a year ago when he took play calling back over. The Colin Klein aspect there is interesting. If A&M can really not miss a beat, that's going to be a really challenging team to have to go up against on Saturdays in the fall. And if they don't miss a beat, I think you'll see their odds increase and they will not be a sleeper anymore. But that does concern me with them. Let's go to the Big Ten, and we'll get to the really long shots. USC, 35-1, sleeper to win it. You look at USC this year, and man, they were on the doorstep of making the college football play a year ago. They couldn't get past Oregon. In fact, they got beat up pretty good in that game against Oregon. But USC has kind of attacked this differently. Look, obviously they have Jaden Maiava, who had an awesome year a season ago. Really, really broke out, man. Like you saw what he could do. And in Lincoln Riley's offense, we know quarterbacks excel there. Lincoln Riley and Lane Kiffin, those are the two best offensive minds in college football today. Steve Sarkisian, yes, but I don't really think that's super debatable, just given the success and really almost immediate success that quarterbacks have in their systems. So you saw that with Jaden Maiava a year ago. When I say they've done something different, USC has 15 starters returning total. They have continuity in a time where nobody has continuity in college football. And you can argue, well, is that really a way to win it? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. I think what's really showing you is transfers have been more often the way to win it. But when you look at the thing that stands in USC's way, and you might say, hey, why with 15 returning starters, a quarterback that performed so well who returns as well in a offensive friendly system, a quarterback friendly system, why are they at 35-1? That's easy. It's the schedule. USC's schedule is absolutely brutal, and that is tough for a guy like Lincoln Riley, who's got a lot of pressure and expectations on him this season. You look at this USC schedule, the first 4 games, really nothing there. San Jose State, Fresno State, ULL, at Rutgers. That's your first 4. The cross-country trip is interesting to Rutgers, but Rutgers stinks. All right, let's just be honest. And after that, it ratchets up for USC. They face Oregon at home. You struggled against that team a year ago. They have to go back across the country and face Penn State. They have back-to-back weeks. There's a bye week in between, but at home against Ohio State and then back across the country to face Indiana. You are looking at Oregon, Indiana, and Ohio State all on this schedule for USC. That's why they're 35-1. But with that schedule, if the continuity deal works and Jaden Maiava takes another big step, and they can actually continue to improve on defense, then yeah, that's not a bad one. The longest shot that was listed as a sleeper is Penn State at 50-1. I don't think any of us are going to look at Penn State and Matt Campbell in year one and be like, oh, man, look out for the Nittany Lions. They had talk about a roster that had to just be completely overturned. He does bring his quarterback, Rocco Becht, so you have that in there. But the thing that's favorable for Penn State is their schedule. There is no Ohio State. There's no Indiana. There's no Oregon. And they get USC at home. So even when you look at the cross-country travel for Penn State, that's even really non-existent. They have to go to Washington. But outside of that, their road games are Temple, why is Penn State playing a road game at Temple? But they're Temple, Northwestern, Michigan, and Maryland. Penn State's schedule might actually be found in like the pastry aisle. It's kind of just one giant friggin' cupcake. And that's needed for them for the roster turnover that they had. And then there's one more. There was one more that was listed as a sleeper. And it's the Ole Miss Rebels. I was surprised to see that. 25-1, their odds are very long. But I get it. They got a great quarterback. And if you have a quarterback, well, you can win a lot of football games. Right? We understand and we know that. Trinidad Chambliss can lead them to wins on his athletic ability alone, and you have Kewan Lacey back. And honestly, a lot of starters back in general too. On both sides, even with the coaching change. But there's a few things, and you know most of them, that really should give, I think, just about everybody pause when it comes to Ole Miss. And that's one, well, there's no Lane Kiffin. Pete Golden did great as the head coach in the college football playoff. But even the circumstances surrounding that are not the same anymore. Not even close. One of the variables, same thing we talked about with A&M, Charlie Weiss is going as your offensive coordinator. He called the plays for you in the college football playoff that helped lead you on that run. And Pete Golden did very well game management-wise in that. But that is a massive piece that is missing. And if you don't have question marks there off of that, then I can't really help you. You're not actually considering the alternative there. Also, now a full season of Pete Golding. How does he settle in as a head coach? And then lastly, their schedule is just way more difficult than it was a year ago. Ole Miss's schedule a year ago fell really, really nicely for them. You're really tough. I mean, they beat LSU, and that really opened the door for them. But when you look at that, Ole Miss played 4 teams that were ranked at the time of the game last season. One of those was LSU when they were number 4. How'd that work out? They went on the road and lost at Georgia. Then they won on the road at 13th ranked Oklahoma at the time. But outside of that, it was Kentucky and Arkansas and Washington State and South Carolina and Florida and Mississippi State. And you look at that this season, and you see Texas pop up. Georgia's on there again. What everyone expects to be an improved LSU, what many expect to be an improved Florida team year one under John Sumrall, and that game's on the road. You have another road trip to Oklahoma. Just with the addition of Texas, that schedule gets way more difficult than it was a year ago. There are so many pitfalls ahead for the Ole Miss Rebels. They might be the greatest sleeper of them all because of the talent that they still do possess and what they were able to bring in. But when you add in first-year head coach Pete Golden, no Charlie Weiss, and that schedule, it gets really, really hard to see a path for Ole Miss this season. And then, as we said, Penn State, I mean, you don't want to say never, but 50-1 kind of maybe even seems a little generous there for the Nittany Lions. We'll see. All right, we're going to grab a break, come back on the other side. I know you're all probably dying to hear this. There's another update in the Brendan Sorsby saga. We'll talk about that next here on AFR.
After further review.
Let's Rev, R-E-V, letsrev.com, letsrev.com. You ever just get super frustrated at super slow internet? Oh, we've all been there, man. The little spinning wheel, slamming your keyboard or your mouse, pounding the desk because it's so frustrating. Your internet's so slow. Storm comes, knocks the power out, knocks the internet out, knocks the cable out. You're so frustrated. Maybe that's just me because I get kind of angry about things. But it's annoying. Nobody wants that to happen. Rev can help. They're local and 5 gigs, lightning fast speeds, and backed by an all-fiber network. Fiber. It's buried under the ground. I mean, you don't have to worry about a storm coming, knocking the power lines down. Let's Rev. Listen, more than 70,000 Louisiana homeowners and business owners trust Rev. You should as well. R-E-V. 90 years of local experience. Let'sRev.com. Let'sRev.com.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Brought to you by Shawbills Tire and Auto Service, ShawbillsTire.com. 18 locations in South Louisiana. Find the location nearest you at ShawbillsTire.com. Bumper-to-bumper auto service and name brand tires at wholesale prices. They will always find a way to get you the best possible price for the best possible tires on the road. That's what they do at Shawbills. And when they get you in by selling you the best tires at the cheapest price possible, they're going to treat you like family, and they're going to treat you so good you're going to keep coming back year after year after year every time you need anything for your vehicle. Tires rotated, oil changed, check engine light on, brakes squeaking, whatever's wrong with your vehicle, bring it to Shawbills. Let them give it the once-over, and you can always schedule online, so it's convenient. ShawbillsTire.com. Find the location nearest you at ShawbillsTire.com. Shop tires online at ShawbillsTire.com. Be sure to ask about the Shawbills credit card as well, because you can save $50 off your first purchase when you use the Shawbills credit card only at Shawbills.
Well, it's the story of the offseason that just won't really seem to end. Brendan Sorsby, he's back in the news yet again. And you know what? This time I'm here to applaud Brendan Sorsby for being back in the news. So, don't really think any of you need a quick catch-up, but if you do, obviously Brendan Sorsby gambled on sports, football, his own team, as a matter of fact, got his injunction, and the Big 12 was like, yeah, no, that's still not going to happen. And Brendan Sorsby and his lawyers realized that they were going to get outlawed by the Big 12, so Texas Tech told him, you're not going to play for us after all. So he says, oh, you know what, that's fine. I'll go ahead and enter the NFL supplemental draft because that deadline's coming anyway. And then last week, the NFL said, yeah, actually, Brendan, you're not, because we're just not going to hold an NFL supplemental draft this year, so you really have no path to coming in here. And then Brendan Sorsby said, well, NFL, I've already beat the NCAA in court one time, not the Big 12, but the NCAA one time. I'm going to take you to court too. Get that Lubbock judge back on the phone. And now, within the last hour, Brendan Sorsby has released a statement through Tom Pelissero, ESPN and the NFL Network, stating that he will not pursue any more legal action against the NFL. Yeah. Smart, Brendan. If you got outlawed by the Big 12, what do you think is going to happen when you go up against the NFL? And it's probably really just not in your best interest, considering your goal is to still play in that league. They don't really take too kindly to those things up there in New York. His statement reads in part, and this is where I really want to applaud him. Quote, I accept 100% responsibility for my actions. Finally. It's like, finally. That's really the only part I care about in his statement. But he would go on and talk about not having control of his gambling problem, took getting caught to realize he needed help, getting the help, fully focusing on his recovery now. And that's great. And isn't that the thing that everyone talked about through all this? Hey, just say, you know what? My bad, guys. I screwed up. I bet on sports. I bet on my own team. Hand in the air. That's my fault. I'm going to focus on my recovery, and I can do that without playing. I accept the consequences. I can't, yes. Now, applause for that. I still think it's a shame it took this friggin' long. That should have been the first thing that happened. But the same thing with Texas Tech. You could have always helped him without playing him. But he takes full responsibility for his actions. He's going to focus on recovery. That's awesome. Talks about focusing on the NFL draft in 2027. That's what he's going to look for. And look, y'all, Brendan Sorsby is going to get an opportunity to play in the NFL. It's going to happen. The reason the supplemental draft went the way it is, in my opinion, I don't really think it had anything to do with the gambling. Like that the NFL is just going to have a hard stance on this guy bet on his team. He's not playing in our league. Why would they have that stance? Hunter Deckers didn't get suspended. He's been on the Saints practice squad for 2 years. Kayshon Boutte, it came out after he was drafted that some of the bets he placed were on LSU, his own team. He never got suspended. Hell, he wants a trade from New England right now. It doesn't have anything to do with that. I think what it had everything to do with the NFL team saying, hey, we'll give him a shot, but we're not giving up a draft asset from him. He's the only guy we're really looking for, and he's the only guy who's really going to be available kind of in the supplemental draft. You give up a draft. They just don't have one. That way you're not even tempted. Why would we give up a future asset for a player who we bring in and we don't know if he's going to be suspended or any of those things? Now, I mean, Deckers and Boutte weren't, but you don't know. So it's just easier not to have the draft. I forget the NFL supplemental draft is a thing. I really do. So that makes sense. If I'm Brendan Sorsby, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to play in the UFL. Because I got news for you. If they're not going to give up a draft asset for you in the supplemental draft, they're probably not going to in April either. You're probably going to be an undrafted free agent. Just like Hunter Deckers was, because all of his stuff was public before the draft. So the Saints signed him as a UDFA. He's on and off the practice squad. They sign him back again this offseason. That feels like the path for a guy like Brendan Sorsby if he just focuses on the draft, unless he goes and plays in the UFL. And you might say, Musso, UFL probably doesn't want him either. No, they do. The co-owner of that league has publicly invited Brendan Sorsby to come play in the UFL. So Brendan Sorsby, go play in the UFL for a year. Your season will be done. That's been a really good proving ground for players to get back into the NFL or just get an opportunity in the NFL. And that actually might be a path for you into the NFL draft. For me, it's kind of a no-brainer. Go do that. Show you can play professional football. I do think one of the funniest things was the CFL coming out and being like, no, we don't need him. Because it's like, you know what that felt like? It felt like last football season when all the SEC teams were firing their coaches like mid-season, and then out of nowhere, Arkansas just randomly in the middle of the week was like, Sam Pittman, you're fired. It's like Arkansas was like, hey, guys, we want to participate too. That's kind of what it felt like with the CFL being like, we're good, Brendan Sorsby. It's like, CFL, I think he was probably good too, if we're being honest. With all due respect to the CFL. It always felt like if there was going to be another professional league he went to, it was the UFL. And now they've extended the invitation. So look, you did the right thing here, Brendan Sorsby. You finally accepted responsibility for your actions here today, Wednesday, June 30th. Should have been done months ago, but you finally did that. Hand in the air. My bad, guys. That's against the rules. I broke them. Not going to sue the NFL either. They aren't going to have a supplemental draft. That's fine. That's cool. Sorry. My bad. I'm going to focus on my future in April and the draft. So here you go, Brendan Sorsby. Go play in the UFL, enter the draft, see if you can start your career, man. I'm not sitting here and telling you that Brendan Sorsby should never played football again. You have too many guys who have had the gambling, problems follow them around that are in the NFL right now. So sure. Now college football, yeah, he should have never been allowed to ever play that again because that's the sport you bet on. And if you do that, you should be banned. Just like, look, if he gets an opportunity, or I should say, when he gets an opportunity to go play in the NFL, and if he screws up and bets on that, he should be banned for life. But good on you, Brendan Sorsby. You took responsibility today. And you're moving on to the next phase of this. And you're leaving the courtroom behind. It's really good advice someone gave you there. Thank them and move forward and try to start your career. All right. It's AFR, presented by Sunshine, on a Tuesday here. Musso in for Moscona. We had Jake Madison on the show earlier, giving a primer for NBA free agency, which is now 43 minutes old. And we talked about free agents for the Pelicans that were on the team that they could re-sign. One of them that Jake Madison mentioned was DeAndre Jordan. And, well, here you go. 17 minutes ago from Shams, free agent DeAndre Jordan has agreed to a deal to return to the New Orleans Pelicans for his 19th NBA season. So DeAndre Jordan, as Jake Madison talked about a little more than an hour ago right here on this show, will re-sign with New Orleans. He was a veteran that a lot of players took to, including some of the established veterans on the team, like Trey Murphy, like Zion Williamson. It doesn't even include the young guys like Derek Queen and Jeremiah Fears. So that one makes an awful lot of sense. Oh, the Pelicans just seem stuck, man. I don't know if I've ever seen a 26-win team be so opposed to a rebuild. It's like, that's what you need to rebuild. You need to blow everything. It does not working. You have young stars now. Cut Zion loose. Build around your young stars. And just embrace the rebuild. You're not good. You're not going to be good anyway. So just embrace the rebuild. Get as many draft picks as you can. And build around your young core with players that complement them. So you don't have Queen and Zion on the floor at the same time doing the exact same thing. See if you can actually make something out of this. But DeAndre Jordan, it's the first edition. I guess you'd call it an addition. He was already on the team. But first edition, he was a free agent. So first edition for the New Orleans Pelicans in free agency. And you know what? I like that one. We'll pass along the terms of the deal, obviously, when we have those and they become public. All right, we're going to grab a break, come back on the other side, wrap it up with Otter Locks. Big one for Otter last night. He's going back to the well, too, in the World Cup. We'll tell you about all those next here on AFR.
AFR.
Brought to you by River City's 1 Hour Air, where they're always on time or you don't pay a dime. 752-0001, where they're always on time or you don't pay a dime. I love sharing 5-star Google reviews. Here's one from Ricky Gomez, who said Chris, his technician, was very professional and knowledgeable during the HVAC evaluation. He provided details and recommendations in a clear and concise manner. That's one of the things that always stands out. If you're having an issue with your AC or your heater, and River City's 1 Hour Air sends out a technician for an evaluation, they're going to explain your options to you. And that may sound simple, but none of it, I don't know anything about an HVAC, neither do you. Let's be honest. So whenever they go get up in your attic or they go look at your HVAC unit on the side of your house and they come talk to you, they're going to explain very clearly what's happening and your options to remedy it. It's River City's 1 Hour Air. Look for the big yellow vans and trucks with the giant clock on the side. 752-0001.
Love telling you about River Parish Contractors. rpcontractors.com is the website if you're looking for work, or you may not even know you're looking for work. River Parish Contractors, you need to make this call. Call Big Jake over at River Parish Contractors because they got tons of work lined up. So you want overtime? They got as much overtime as you want. So you never have to. A lot of places want to hire, give you a good rate, but they don't want you to work overtime. Not a River Parish Contractors. They got as much overtime as you want to work. You want to work night shifts when it's cooler? You could do that. You want to work day shifts? Got it. Look, there's no rainouts. They have amazing benefits. They've got PTO. If you're a welder, pipe fitter, pipe cutter, you got to get in touch with my friends over at River Parish Contractors. Call Big Jake or go to rpcontractors.com, rpcontractors.com. Right there in reserve, River Parish Contractors, rpcontractors.com.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
All right, wrapping up Tuesday edition of AFR's One Thing Left to Do. We wrap the show with Otter Locks, but no Jimmy today. Couldn't get in touch with Jimmy today, but we do have his picks, so I'll go ahead and I will give those out to you now. Pretty big one that the Otter hit last night. A little draw, plus 500 draw in the World Cup. Cashed that ticket, did the Otter, and he's going back to the well with that. So let's just start with the World Cup. 2 bets on Mexico and Ecuador in the World Cup tonight. First, under 1.5, because, soccer. Under 1.5 in Mexico, Ecuador. And, as we said, back to the well, plus 500 for that game to end in a draw between Mexico and Ecuador. From there, it is not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 baseball plays from the Otter. None of these games underway yet. So we start in Arlington with the Rangers. They are hosting the Cleveland Guardians. Otter likes the under in that game tonight. He gave it out at 8. See if I can get you a current number on that game. Let's see. Guardians, and I can't find it now. Okay, so that game just got underway. They're in the top of the first. Right now, it is 6.5. So maybe wait, see if that goes back up. But under 8 in Rangers Guardians. Of course, that's why you want to get the picks at the website. He likes the Twins on the money line tonight, minus $1.15. Twins are visiting the Astros. That's actually down to $1.10 now. So a little bit better number for you there. The Miami Marlins on the money line, minus $1.36. That game gets underway here shortly as well. See if I can get you a quick update on the number there. Now minus 141. So a little bit more juice potentially there, but he likes the Marlins. He likes the Braves, minus 145. Bravos, they host the Cardinals. That's now at 149. So about the same juice you're laying there. And then lastly, the Dodgers on the run line. Los Angeles Dodgers on the run line, minus 1.5. They face the Athletics on the road tonight. That run line's coming back at $1.17. So, quick recap. Mexico, Ecuador, under 1.5, and for the game to end in a draw. End in a draw is plus 500. He hit that last night. The under in the Rangers, Guardians, Twins on the money line, Marlins on the money line, Braves on the money line, Dodgers on the run line. Those are your Otter Locks here on Tuesday, June 30th. We're getting set to get out of here, but first, Matt, with a word about Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry.
Quick reminder about Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, lmfj.com, lmfj.com for Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. They're the best. If you are, gentlemen, thinking about popping the question and you're thinking about where am I going to go buy that diamond, I want you to consider this. There are places that will sell you man-made lab diamonds, but what are you buying? It's according to its makeup and characteristics, sure, diamond. But is it going to hold its value? Like, is that the way you want to say, I love you, I want to spend the rest of my life with you? Go to Lee Michaels. Go to Lee Michaels. Walk in the door. Experience the thing I talk about all the time, which is the Lee Michaels experience. It's Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry with 10 locations. Baton Rouge, 2 locations in Baton Rouge. New Orleans, Lafayette, Shreveport, Mississippi, Texas as well. 10 locations across 3 states. It's Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Thrill her, gentlemen. Thrill her with a gift in the red box from Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry.
All right, that's just about going to put a button on today's show, man. Good show. Jam-packed show here for a Tuesday. Thanks to Jake Madison for hopping on with us a little bit early. We did miss Shay today. Shay's going to be with us on tomorrow's show. He just had a conflict, needed to reschedule. So it kind of works out. I mean, look, it's just tomorrow, Wednesday is decision day for Jaden Anding. So we'll be able to have Shay on to break that down, preview Davion Jones, and just talk kind of all things recruiting. So miss Shay today, but he'll join us tomorrow on Wednesday. So looking forward to that conversation as well. Plenty of LSU football, plenty of Saints. If you missed anything, catch it on demand. AFR on demand presented by Brett Goff. YouTube, AFR LSU, AFR Saints. Podcast, just search After Further Review. There's also an AFR LSU, AFR Saints page there too. So anything you missed on the show, you can find on podcast. That is greatly, greatly appreciated. Thank you to Braxton. Thank you to Cassie here as well for hanging out today. It's weird. It happens every year. This is kind of just the point in the calendar where this show gets thrown into gets really thrown into flux because I'm out, Paul's out, Matt's out. We go like a 3-week stretch without all three of us being here at one time. So appreciate the help, obviously, from you guys as well, so we can keep things on the tracks there. So that's just about going to do it here for today's show. Again, as we said, Shay will be with us tomorrow. See if there's any updates with NBA free agency as well. You know, we already told you the Pelicans re-signed DeAndre Jordan, so they're working their way there as well. But for now, we'll sign off for today. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Again, Braxton, Cassie, thank you very much. Be here next time for more. We're back at 3 o'clock on Wednesday for AFR.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by Parish Restoration. Kill mold, remove odor, other harmful pathogens, commercial or residential. As a matter of fact, Parish Restoration, I love the process, by the way. If you go to the website at parishrestoration.com, you can see videos of their patented non-toxic dry fog treatment. So you see exactly what it looks like. Very cool. But they have fogged, over at Parish Restoration, they fogged one of the largest buildings in the entire state of Louisiana. So it doesn't matter if it's your office building, your church, whatever it may be, school, or your home. They can even fog your car. Maybe your car has a weird odor, musty smell. Maybe you bought a used car from a smoker and you can't get that smoky smell out. This will do it. They'll come while you're at work, fog it. By the time you're done with work for the day, boom, you're back in a clean-smelling, fresh-smelling vehicle. It's Parish Restoration. Learn more at parishrestoration.com. Parishrestoration.com. Do business with someone you know. Parishrestoration.com.